join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. So good morning. My name is Mr. Moran, and I'm the Social Studies Supervisor. And before we start with a few remarks, I want to thank a couple people for helping us out today. First, Ms. Rice in the School Counseling Department for organizing the whole event. Mr. McMenamin for his expertise. Dr. Vanilla for all his support. Our trumpeter, Owen Sheard. And our group, Bella Voce. And of course, our active service members of the military who are here with us today to honor all of those who have served our country. For as long as people have lived, they've looked to armed forces to protect them. These are ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Before I held my current position, I taught English at East Brunswick High School, and 1 year in American literature, I wanted to try something different and special for Memorial Day. So I thought of having veterans from local organizations come and speak to the students until I realized I didn't have to reach out to any local organizations. I didn't have to make any phone calls. One of our custodians at that time was in the Navy during Vietnam. The son of one of our secretaries served as a Marine in Iraq and Afghanistan. And one of my students' grandfathers served in the Army in World War II. And these good people came to my class and answered my questions and the students' questions about their experiences. And it was really eye-opening. That grandfather I mentioned actually saw combat in the Battle of the Bulge, which was a German attack on the Allies in the forests of France in the winter of 1944. And he spoke about unbelievable experiences and his struggles and his loss. And when the time came for questions, a student said to him, "Well, what ran through your mind when you were out there in the forests of France?" And he said a lot of expected things. I thought of God, I thought of my family, I thought of back home. And then he paused and he said, "Socks. We all wanted socks. We talked about socks all the time. Finding socks was the best thing that could happen to you out there." And then another student asked him, "What made you enlist?" And he said, What made me? He said, "The Germans weren't going to stop in Europe. We still remembered Pearl Harbor. This was my country. Someone had to defend it. If I didn't do it, who would? Who was going to do it?" And the room got really quiet in a good way. So if you think about that, the first response about socks reminds us that he was an ordinary man. We all hate wet socks in the snow. But the second one shows us that he was far from ordinary. When a threat as terrifying as the Nazis rose on the scene, he volunteered to fly to another country from which he knew he might never return, and know that he had to play his part. And it wasn't a movie, it was for real. During that same year, I learned that one of our hall aides served in the Korean conflict. And when I asked him if he wanted to join the class, he thanked me for the invitation, but said he never talked about Korea. He said he didn't like talking about it. And I remember we were in the hallway right by the gym. He said he didn't like talking about it, and then he apologized. And I told him he was the last person that had to apologize for anything. So his story reminds us that there are veterans very comfortable talking about their experiences, but there's also ones who find talking sometimes too painful, and neither one would criticize the other. They both deserve our respect. Each year, my colleague, Mr. Hughstar, who couldn't be here today, but who also taught at East Brunswick High School, asks each person to thank a veteran in his or her life. Call them and simply say thank you for your service. And if you can't do that today, then the next time you complain about anything, a test you have, someone in front of you driving too slowly, the weather, then take a breath and remind yourself, as I do, of all those who have protected us and continue to protect us in our great nation. Again, these are ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Thank you.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land.
This concludes our ceremony. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, veterans.
It was like the pictures down there.